So the real question is Broca's broadcast streaming or is it like on public access? Inquiring minds want to know. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something new, you'll be among the first to know. The 10th and final episode of this first season of Starfleet Academy is here. It is called Rubincon. Um, I'm a big fan. This episode is almost like a mini movie. It's an hour and 10 minutes, hour 7 minutes long. Add 20 more minutes in it, you basically got a made for TV film. And it is handled quite well. I think all of the stories that we've sort of got seeded throughout the season come to play off here. And it's a pretty good culmination of the story and a set off to beginning of the new or whatever is going to be the future for Starfleet Academy in season 2. I do have some issues. I'll get on it. There's one thing that really, really bugs me in this episode, but I will call it out when we get there. So the episode starts with us doing like a full circle moment. We're going to go back and look at how we got here with Nala and Anisha. Clear is that we're going to deal with some past wounds in this episode. And so we see how they got separated, how Caleb and his mom got separated, how Nala was front and center at her trial, sentencing her, separating her, how she did the whole don't trust them thing to Caleb as they got separated. And then we come full circle to present day, and Anisha is giving Nala the death stare. Like, what is happening? Why am I on this Starfleet ship? Why am I here? Why is my son here? She still isn't quite aware of what Caleb's connection is to all of this, but she is. She is not happy. Nala tells her real quick, look, you can rip my head off. You can be pissed all you want. But right now, not the time. We going through some things, girl. So let me tell you, Braca has us dead to rights, and we are the only ship, half of a ship. we are the only ship that is here present outside of this huge death brigade of bomb that Braca has set. She's like, look, come to the bridge. We can talk about whatever it is you need to talk about after the fact, but let's handle this part first. We learn the ramifications of what would happen if that bomb goes off. If Braca sets that off, roughly 160 million people's lives will be lost. Thousands and thousands of hundreds of thousands of planets will be taken off the board. It would cause a mass extinction. On the ship, all they have to work with is Doc, Reno, Nala, 6 cadets, and Anisha. And they're saying this to Vance. It's at that point that Anisha sort of learns that her son is one of the 6 and that he's a full cadet and starting to ruminate to her and realize that, oh, you stole, not only did you separate me from my kid, you stole my kid and then put him in a Starfleet Academy uniform. Oh, I got some things that I got to say to you, Nala. And she gets him off. We learned that what Braca is trying to do is he's trying to create like a world coalition, a pact for amongst all the people who've sort of been forgotten, misled, mistreated, who haven't really been under the Federation's purview. All these non-members of the Federation, and to create a group that can just pillage and mine and take over what they want to with the threat of these Omega bombs that he has. So what Nala and the crew have to do is they have to figure out a way to get control of that signal and hold the signal without triggering to Braca that they have it. They have to do it sort of in secret and do it so that he doesn't push the button, because knowing them, they know that Braca has that trigger on him. So they have to figure out a way to take control of that signal so that they're in control of the detonators without signaling to Braca that that is what they are doing. As they're trying to come up with that plan, 6 ships show up in their orbit. They are all Braca's ships. It's immediately then that Nala takes Flea, puts up shields, and she tells Reno to hide the kids. Hide the kids in the isolation bay. And sort of what was done earlier that Braca was able to hide on the ship. Let's hide the kids. Have them keep their breathing patterns down, but we're going to hide them on the ship. And then Anisha chooses to stay up front on the bridge because she's like, use me as a reason why you would even be out here. Because there's no other reason for Federation to be present in this airspace unless you're coming to do something out of the norm. So they get the kids safe. They're on the bridge. And it's at that point, it's a quick moment between two mothers who are basically mothering the same person. But Anisha says to Nala, if anything happens to my son, I'm going to kill you. So at that point, then Nala returns it and says, if anything happens to your son, you'll be doing me a favor. Because she would be able to live with the guilt that something happened to Caleb, who would be her second son, her second child that she lost. In the isolation chamber, they all have to be cognizant of how much breath they're using. And so Caleb decides to try and take this moment to sort of apologize. I'm like, hey, so you remember when I ripped you guys a new asshole in that last episode? Yeah, that's on me. And Genesis wants no parts of it. She shuts him down real quick. Like, I don't want to hear it. She's like, I don't want to hear that. Plus, we can't have you using up our air. So shut up. This ain't the time. Back at the bridge of the Athena, it takes a big blast. And that big blast, shields go down, and Braca and his team of people are able to transport onto the bridge of the Athena. In that he's very surprised to see that both Nala and Anisha are there. He's like, oh, my two favorite ladies. Let me tell you this. You can go either way on the performance, but I think Paul Giamatti is having a blast chewing up scenery, and I think he's doing what he's supposed to be doing and doing it well. Like I fully believe that he um, is going to do what he says he's going to do, and we learn why he acts and um, says some of the things that he says later on, and we see that he's still sort of stuck in a state that he has not been able to sort of get out of. But in this, he sees the two of them together, and he's like wondering, like, why are you guys here? Why are the two of you together here? But why, and more importantly, are you guys out this far in space and only four of you on this ship? That doesn't make sense. So he has one of his crew members search for other life signs. He says no. He's like, search again, search again. He's like, something's off. This doesn't make sense. That it would just be the four of you. But he's like, all right, if it's just the four of you, I'm going to let Reno and Doc, because I don't like either of you. I especially don't like you, Reno. I'm going to take Nala and Anisha off of here. I'm going to take them back to what I need to do, and I'm going to shoot this ship down and kill it right where it stands. You guys go down with your ship, and I have the two ladies that I need. So he takes them both, teleports off, not before Nala gets a message to the Doc. And she gets something, a coded message that only Doc would understand. And then they're teleported off the bridge. Once they're off, Reno asks Doc what was the message, and Doc's like, we're supposed to run the training mission. He's like, run the training mission? Like, yep, we got to do it now. So it's a really well done shot, but we see the Athena get blown to hell because once they teleport off, all those six ships start firing upon the Athena, and it blows up. And then we don't even get the Star Trek Starfleet Academy theme song and music, which is terrible, by the way, but we don't get that here. It goes straight into blowing up that ship and then zooms in with the Star Trek icon and logo, Starfleet Academy, and then we're right back into the show. Like I said, this is very much like a movie. But we quickly learned that the training mission was set to have the Athena take on a holographic form. So Doc went into the ship's mainframe, set off holograms so that it would appear that it blew up. And so it gave off the impression that it blew up, bought them some time, and all those ships from Braca's team leave their airspace. And so Athena did take some damage because they still, even though it appears that they blew up, they still took battle damage with the shots going back and forth. They're now licking their wounds, but at least they get to fight another day. The cadets come back to the bridge. They're wondering what the hell is going on. And Reno has them sort of man stations. Like everybody sort of takes their place, does what they're supposed to do, as they have to sort of repair the ship and then get far enough out of space to lick their wounds, repair, and then go attack and continue the mission that Nala wanted them to do, which was, hey, let's figure out a way to get control of that signal so we can take over all the bombs. Now, as you can might imagine, Caleb is not a fan of that idea. He wants to go after Braca immediately. And they're like, look, we will get them, but let's get in control of the bomb so we can make Braca a lot weaker at the point, and then we can go in and get him and get Nala and your mom back. because she starts assigning people stations. Darren's like the pilot. Sam originally is going to do some stuff with the ship's mainframe and tech, but she gets sidetracked because the doc returns back to his holographic form, and he seems to be damaged and seems to not be in a way, which throws Sam for a loop. So they take him to sickbay, and Jaden becomes the medical officer. That's where Jaden goes. He goes to go handle that stuff. So he's now the med bay, the med officer, because Doc is incapacitated. That's sort of the crew. So it's Tarima, Caleb, Genesis, and Darren manning the bridge with Reno in the captain's chair. On Bracca's ship, Anisha is crushed because she thinks she's lost her boy. She thinks she just saw her son get blown to hell. And Nala has to whisper to her, like, he's fine, trust me, he's fine. Caleb's alive. She hugs her and says, look, in this moment, I know you don't like me, but you gotta trust me. He's alive. And the only way that we're going to get through any of this is that we got to get through it together. She doesn't have much time to sort of take that all in, because then Bracca comes around the corner and starts bloviating and giving this big speech. What we learn is that Bracca is planning to go live. He has like a live broadcast that he has going out throughout space, where he's basically declaring that the Federation is are liars. They've been compromised. They're weakened. All the things that they sort of explained that they did before are helping people who are less fortunate or who were impoverished. They don't have that right to do that anymore. They don't have that ability to do that anymore, because we now have them by the balls. And he's saying all the people who felt like they never were seen by the Federation before, you're not alone anymore. And this is your moment to sort of come together, and we can have this meeting of minds to overtake and overpower the Federation, who is no longer a needed entity in this space, not the space that Bracca's trying to create. He basically says, join them, and they will be the new power of space. We will take care of the people for whom the Federation, ignores. In this, he is putting the Federation on trial for all their crimes against humanity before this day. Anytime that they left somebody behind, anytime that they didn't provide food or nourishment or help or whatever, they're being charged for their crimes. And the proxy of that is Nala. She is being put on trial here. So it's a reversal of fortune from what happened to them at the very beginning. She's being put on trial by Bracca, which obviously is not going to be a fair trial. In this, though, he invokes Anisha's help. She's like, if anybody else has been as done wrong by the Federation as I have, it's going to be her. Because not only did they sentence her to jail for life, they then took her son and raised him and put them in the clothes of them. So she, like, that's got to be a hard one. So Brock is like, if anything, she's going to be on my side. And he's giving her the ability to do the final verdict or whatever she feels Nala should have. Athena and making their flee and try to get to a safer space area, they go through some debris and take another blast, knock over, and Tarima falls a little bit, and it looks like her inhibitor becomes compromised. Doesn't break or damage, but it becomes compromised. Reno and Caleb then go down to the plasma area, because plasma keeps leaking, and they're trying to go ahead and close that all up and make it all better. And when that happens, Genesis is given the con, so she gets to sit in the captain's chair. This is the thing that pisses me off about this episode, because we spent this entire season trying to explain to how big or how important for her the captain's chair was, and then she finally gets to sit in it, and she then has a joke of, hold on, I gotta go pee. It's a funny joke, and I get the thesis that, hey, this meant so much to Genesis over all this time that this sort of takes the literal, takes the piss out of it, and that this thing doesn't mean that much. We put more weight on the idea of being in the captain's chair, so when she finally gets it, it's not that big of a deal. But I think it's just lazy story writing, and that just take that joke out. Just have her sit in the chair looking as serious and honest as she is. She's not going to keep the chair very long, as we learn in the next scene that she ends up having to hand it off. But like in that moment, I just don't feel like that joke was needed. There are other buttons and jokes that work in this show that I think the humor is perfect. This is the one that I was like, that's the hokey part of this that just isn't needed. Bothered me for a but the show and the episode, everything else works. So I'm gonna just take that one on the chin and just keep moving. Back at the trial, Braca is like burrowing in on Nala. He's interrogating the crap out of her. And he's using the idea of Nala being the one that separated Anisha from his kid and then got him to be on Starfleet. And you can see that all of this retelling of the story and what actually took place that Anisha may not have been aware of is having, like, she's getting punched in the mouth several times right now. It's at that point that Nala sort of does a rebuttal. It's like, look, I want you to know your planet wasn't forgotten, Braca. Like, we were aware that your planet had a particular mineral on it that made you more sustainable life than a lot of the people who did not have that. Like, if you guys took that mineral and did what you needed to do with it, you guys would have been able to sustain it and make a life for yourself. We went and helped the people that were less than even that. Rocket doesn't want to hear that. So it's at that point that he calls Anisha to be like, Anisha, your turn to cross the witness, if you will. Back on the Athena, Reno has a heart-to-heart with Caleb while they're in the plasma room getting things set. She has to remind Caleb of the first day that he came into class. And she's like, do you remember when I asked you who he was? Like, who are you as a person? Like, who are you? And she says, after seeing him make the choice of saving his friends in that town square versus going with his mom, because hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people would have just left and gone with their mother, you came back to save your friends. And so now I know the person who you are. Like, I'm very well aware of who you are. Caleb is having a hard time leaning into that because he says he doesn't want to let people down. He's never had the ability to let people down, but now he actually has people who care about him, who he cares about, and he doesn't want to buck it up or let them down and mess it up since he is such an asshole. Like, he's fundamentally aware that he is an asshole. And Reno's like, yeah, no, you are 100% that, but you're also something more. And I think you need to realize that. And then it's a little bit of a hokey way that they do it, but they fix the plasma. They do it through some repair work. And they use like a line of saying, hey, the plasma is right where it's supposed to be, which kind of gives a wink and nod that's saying he is right where he's supposed to be with the Federation. It's a bit cheesy, but it works. I don't mind that piece at all. So then Anisha takes her moment to interrogate Nala, and it is brutal. Like, she is letting out all the pain that she's had over the course of all of these years, and she's just unloading on Nala. And it's a lot personal. I would imagine that all the people that are watching this on the broadcast are like, these people seem to be very angry at each other with having no context. But for them, it's almost like just the two of them, Braca too, the three of them in that room, and she's just unloading on poor Nala. Back on the Athena, while Genesis is at the con, Jaden calls in to the bridge to say, hey, Doc's still in a bad way. Because he's still in a bad way, Sam's not doing well either. She's starting to spiral as well. To that point, the Genesis is like, I need to go talk to my friend Sam. Even though their connection is not as strong as it was when she was young Sam, she feels like, hey, she needs me right now in this moment. So she gives the con to Darum, even though we'd actually never see him in the chair. She's like, you're in control. And she goes to go talk to Sam. They reconcile after some back and forth, learning that Sam's like, you looked at me a certain way when I was a kid. Now that I'm an older version of myself, you look at me a different way. And Genesis is like, that's not the case at all. Like, Sam felt that because I was lesser than you before, you appreciated it. Now that I'm kind of on equal footing, you don't want to be friends with me. And Genesis is like, that's not the case at all. So they make up. But in that, they realize that the doctor is not sort of just spitting out gibberish. He's spitting out a code to help them understand how to break down the Omega bombs to make them stabilize as opposed to them being volatile as they are. They take it back to the bridge. They go through a bunch of patterns and a lot of tests to realize how to stabilize the bombs. And now they have a plan. They're going to go make their way towards Braca. However, they don't know where the hell Braca is. So Caleb then asked Tarima to mind meld. So she goes to the safe space that she created for Caleb in the first couple episodes. And in that, it's a moment where just the two of them can talk. And Caleb's like, look, we need you right now. I know you're always afraid of your powers and who you truly are, but I need you right now. And I think you're more than what everybody says you're not. It's like, do you trust me? Because I trust you. And I need you to meld with me, feel me, and sense where my mom is through me. And I think you'll be the way to sort of get us there. So she comes out of the mind connection piece, takes off her inhibitor, and gets to work. And she finds through Caleb's, through his visions, where she's at. And you can hear her sort of saying, come find me, I'm here. So she's also sort of putting that out there. Doesn't really know about Tarima, but she's still just hoping and wishing, as a mom would, for her son to come to her. Tarima, once she finds the mom, Tarima declares her love for Caleb, and then it's final exam time. Reno's like, "Look, final test time, guys. This is what your whole first year of school come to be. Final test. If you pass, we live. If you don't, we did. So let's go." And so they make their way towards Raka's ships. So at this point, the Nala tells Anisha of the pilot that they killed, that Braka shot and killed, and that she tries to humanize the situation. She tries to humanize and tell that several people's lives were affected that day, and the reason why you had to be put to jail is because not only was your life and your kids affected, mine and your kid, but also this pilot had a kid, and so his family was affected, and everything that occurred in that day took people on different trajectories than they were originally planned to go on. So we didn't just make a decision to put you in prison on a whim. There was just something that had to be done because of the trajectory that everybody's lives has sort of been placed on because of this act. And because of that, that's just something we all had to live with. It's just choices that we had to make that had ramifications. Yeah, Nisha still is like, cool, that's a great, I hear that, but you're guilty. And so she delivers a guilty verdict. To which point Brock is like, wait, what? He says she's guilty. And he starts parading. He's like the Joker in the end of the Batman parade. Like, yeah, we about to celebrate. And then he gets a message from one of his members. It's like, hey, there's an oncoming vessel shuttle coming with Caleb Mir in it. And Nala and Anisha are like, wait, what? And so he comes down. Right behind him is the Athena. They're right on his tails. They're coming to make that move as well. Caleb wants to speak. He's like, look, I want to speak on television. And Bronca's like, nah, the trial's over. And Caleb's like, well, hold on. You're going to silence me on your television show? Like, you just gave a whole diatribe about not taking the voice from people who haven't been heard before. So Caleb sort of flips it on him. And Bronca's like, well played, you mischievous son of a gun. Sure, floor is yours. You can have the TV. And in this, he gives a pretty roaring speech about how much he has spent all of his life looking for his mom, looking for a hope, looking for a home, looking for a family. And he's looked for that through his mom, trying to find his mom. But in that whole time, he managed to find that in the least likeliest place. He didn't want to go to the Federation. He hated it from the moment. He hated everything about it. He always tried to fight it. But then something happened in there where it just clicked. And it felt like home for him. It felt right. He got warm in his body when he thought about home. He laughed like he had never laughed before. And in years, he laughed like he had never laughed at Starfleet. He felt home. And as much as he tried to be an asshole and pushed them away, it's like, hey, this isn't my family. You aren't the people that I'm supposed to be with. This isn't it. Um, they wouldn't let me. They wouldn't let me push them away. Um, for better or worse, that's just who they are as people. That's just who we as Starfleet are. We don't push the downtrodden away. We don't push those people away. They've accepted me, all my flaws. And because they are a part of something bigger than this, I also am now a part of something bigger than this. This all means more than just me coming home with you. It's something else. And he says a very important piece, like, I can be a part of Starfleet without forgetting about you. Like, you are still my mom, but this is what makes me who I am now. So I've been looking for home for so long, and I think I finally found it. Important that while he's giving this speech, the Athena is also hearing this speech because they found the airwaves that it was on. I don't know what streaming channel they're on, but they found it, and they all hear it. So they all kind of get the apology that Caleb was going to give them in that room earlier. They get it now, and he does it in front of the world. Nala also lets Raka know that, hey, look, the Federation didn't destroy your colony. She uses Caleb's ability for chemistry to sort of say that, like, the colors that came from the emissions and smoke that existed there wouldn't have been from us. Like, our fire was always going to be either green or blue. The fire that was present on the planet on the day your planet got uh, torched was red. And so that came from your father's ship and all of his stuff, which may have just been an accident, but we didn't have any hand. The Federation had no hands on what happened to your planet. Braca wants no parts of that. And like at that point, Nala asked the people, like, hold on, this man has been holding on to something that he saw as a kid. In his head, as a kid, this is what he envisioned this is to be. Um, this isn't a grown man coming up with these rules and regulations or deciding who's right and who's wrong. This is a kid. It's a kid when he saw what was happening. He's stuck in that same mainframe. That's why he has the tic tac toe stuff on there. He goes into that in his speech. And he's still a petulant kid today. And so you really want to follow behind this petulant kid who's saying that the world is all against him when he really got it wrong and misread what was happening in the situation? You want him to be the person that's on that trigger? I don't think you do. And in that, people start to disconnect. A lot of the people that were sort of above him watching and whatnot, the ratings started going down, dropping, and Brock is losing his audience, which means he's desperate. And so then he pulls out his detonator and he's ready to blow that thing to holy hell. So while all of this is happening, Sam is trying in real time to get the formula correct to be able to stabilize the bomb. So right when he's about to pull the trigger, she knocks it out the park and she got it. It's at that point that all these Starfleet ships start showing up, one after the other. Like, yeah, we got you now. And Admiral Vance comes on the comms to tell Athena, kids, you can stand down. We got it from here. We appreciate your help. Thank you. And they go take care of business. Sam, all of them just start celebrating. Sam, I think it's funny. I know she's a droid, but she gives a response of like what I would think the actress in that moment would do. But like she's just saying yeah at the top of her line, like a person who would be like, yeah, like it's unexuberated joy. And even to a moment, she just jumps in Reno's chair while she's still in Captain's chair, and Reno can do nothing but smile. It's a really heartfelt and cool moment. Um, they go back to arrest Braca. Braca says some nice things to Anisha, who gets punched for it, and then says some nice things to Nala, gets punched for that, and he's taken away and arrested. The Athena is made whole again, gets to join both the saucer part with the rest of the ship, and then they take off to where it is they need to head to. We then see that Anisha and Nala at Starfleet sort of exchange glances in a hallway as Caleb has decided that he's going to return to Starfleet. Like Starfleet's his place, that's where he's going to go, but he's going to go spend the summer with his mom. They're going to go connect, going to go do all their stuff. But she acknowledges that this is home for him and that if she ever wonders where he'll be, it's going to be with Starfleet. And so she's comfortable with that. She's cool with that. She also sort of has a realization that Nala's not going to let anything happen to him. And so she's a lot more comfortable with how this all goes. And then we finish the episode with the cadets sort of coming together, having a moment before they split off for the summer and go do their things, with Caleb giving his first cadet log entry to his stardate log, something that he thought he would never be able to do or would ever do. And then that's how the episode and the season ends. Bravo. I thought it was a really well, outside of the taking the piss out of the captain's share piece, I thought it was a really well done episode. I think what made this episode work for me is that it was sort of a culmination of everybody's arc. Tarima having to deal with an inhibitor and not trusting herself, trusting her powers, but finally getting to like, nah, I can control this. I got this now. Caleb pushing folks away so much throughout the majority of the episode, the majority of the season, to finally get to this episode and say, no, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is my home. And that us sort of using that as a launch pad for the second season, which is happening. I know you angry cancel folks, but they got picked up for two. They were originally ordered for 2 seasons. So it's second season happening whether you guys like it or not. Like his story where it went through. I think Genesis had a pretty decent arc. I like again, they not sitting in chair piece, but she got to be basically play captain in this. And so she got to sort of taste a little bit of that. I think the people who had the weakest story arcs in this was Jaden and Darum, but I also think Jaden and Darum had their episode a little bit earlier with the wedding scenario. I think they got a lot of their story out of the way before it came to this. It's just not going to be possible to take care of six cadet stories in this one piece. I think Sam also had the growth, but her biggest episode is sort of to show the episode when she's super kid, and then um, her growth into what she has become now and how she's not the same person that she was then. But yeah, as a whole, I like this season a lot. I think there's only really one episode that I didn't like. I think it was the second episode that I didn't like nearly as much as I liked the first and everything else. Um, and I think I feel a little bit different about the last episode. But I think because this is shot like a movie, because it even removes the typical credits themes that it normally does, I can see why they led that in almost like a, hey, this is where we're going to bleed off into, and then we're going to let it be sort of a mini movie. But yeah, I'm excited to see what we get for the second season. I'm curious to see how they go from something so perilous and come out of it the better than to go back into school. That's why I think the show is going to have a bit of a hard time to say, hey, um, back to school for another year and what peril we're going to put in. Because Braca, for those who don't know, Paul Giamatti said he's not a part of season 2 at all. So if Braca's out, what's the new thing that can get those kids off of Starfleet, out of school, to then put them in peril in real world dangers? Because that's where the meat and potatoes of the show come in, is when they learn stuff. They learn stuff about who they are as people at the school. In the Star Trek put in peril, learning world stuff happens when they are on training missions or missions outside. But I already know the answer for most folks, although I got a couple people who are diehard. What did you guys think about this season as a whole, and what did you guys think about the season finale of Starfleet Academy called Rubincon? Go ahead and leave your thoughts and comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on X at HollywoodADI. You can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have a podcast with the same name. That's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere the place podcasts. We're there. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.